Uh, I'm tired. I look like crap. My hair's not done. I have no makeup on. Hello, everyone. What is in the way there? Do you have a difficult time painting ice and snow-covered trees? Stick around. I'm going to show you my 2022 holiday card process. Hello, art peeps. So it is holiday 2022. I'm going to be painting my holiday card that I put out every year. And I got a picture from a friend of mine who is a wonderful photographer. His name is Benjamin Williamson. Check him out. Beautiful stuff. All of Maine. Actually, more than Maine now because he's doing a little traveling, but great photographer. And he allows me to paint from his photographs. So I am doing my 2022 holiday card. It's basically all snow-covered trees, and ice, and I thought I would share a little bit of my process with you.
And this is sped up, as you can see, because I certainly don't paint this fast, although I am a pretty fast painter. It is, I think, at four times the norm. But I started out basically with a wet background. And if you are a part of my watercolor affinity class, by the way, I am putting this whole thing in there at normal speed for you. So you can check that out too. So I wet the paper and now I'm just dropping in lots of colors. Now, the original photograph kind of had like a really pretty bluish sky in there. It's not really blue, it was like a light blue, kind of an overcast grayish look. Very cold, very wintry. And I didn't want too much blue. And then I felt like I had too much gray. There's like everything in here. I was just, whatever's on my palette. So I just added water to my paint palette and went for it. Just kind of cleaning things up a little bit. I had some extra stuff there. Now I'm trying to recreate a blue shade, that really pretty teal color that was in the water. That is amazing. Like that is really the color of it, which is really cool because in Maine, most of our water is really dark blue. We don't often get those really pretty emerald green looks, emerald green colors in our water. Like, you do down in the southern parts, they've got those beautiful crystal, like Bahama color waters. That's the best way I can describe it. So this is not normal for us. And I don't know if he tweaked the original photograph or not, but if he did, kudos because it's really pretty. So I'm trying to capture that color in here. And I'm going to go a little bit darker on the edges for that. Again, I'm just mixing my colors up here, just kind of having fun. Now I want to leave most of that area white because this is where our snow is going to be. Now you can see I'm not matching this up exactly to the photograph. I just pretty much take a photograph and just use it as inspiration. I mean, this is pretty close, but it's not identical to that photograph. Just trying to get that, capture the colors and the feel that it evokes in me. And even when I'm putting in the ice, my ice is pretty crooked. It's not correct. Again, I didn't look at the photograph like the whole time I was painting it. So I just go by feel. And that's what they talk about artists. They're like, what is you go by feel? It's a feeling. It's more of the enjoyment of painting. Even though this is going to be my Christmas card, I figured if it doesn't turn out right, I won't turn it into my Christmas card. It'll just become a practice piece for me. And that's great too, because even after 20 years of painting, I'm still practicing. We're always practicing, always playing, always working on things. So I started with a purple for the trees, and I want to get really tall on that right side. I don't normally do a lot of paintings um, horizontal. So horizontal or vertical? Vertical. Horizontal is where the horizon is. Vertical paintings. I don't often do vertical paintings, but I will say vertical paintings are great for card racks. So I decided for my Christmas card, vertical is always a great way to go. So I went vertical. So I really wanted to capture that height in the trees, and the original photograph is vertical as well. So, kudos to me. I'm just following what was already there. I love purple. I have a thing about purple. The purples and the greens I think look really well together. I threw some salt in there and you can see that it created this almost like a snowy effect. And I'm really kind of mad at myself because I loved that look, but I wanted to have a little bit more detail. This was just too loose for a card, which, looking back at it, hindsight, I really could have just done a few, but I just went hog wild with all my trees. And I covered up most of that beautiful texture that I have from the salt. So I'm super bummed about that. But I can always do it again, right? Which I hopefully am going to be doing for my group. We're going to be doing a meeting, so I might try this one again, doing a little live demo and do a smaller version of it and leave the salt alone. So I switch now to a little fine detailed brush. Now this I think is a silver brush pen, which I love these brushes. This is a number 8, I believe. They have a really nice point, nice snap to it. Great for details. Oh, no, wait. This is my dagger brush. Sorry. Also by Silver Brush. This is a new brush for me. I've not used it a whole lot. And I will say, because I always heard that they're really difficult to work with. Oh my gosh, you need to get one of these. I don't care if you're a beginner. They say for beginners it's really tough, but it makes the best trees and it really makes you paint loose. And I'm a fairly tight painter when I'm painting. Lots of little details. And this one can really loosen you up. I think it works great for painting tree branches, little sticks, lines that you don't want to have perfectly straight because it's got a really nice point to it, but it's really, the best way to say it is like kind of floppy. It's a floppy brush. It's just long. And so it kind of just bounces around, flings itself from side to side. So hence great for making tree branches. So I started out, just not covering up all that area, just a little bit, taking my dagger brush and coming down. And then it looked like that tree was just kind of sitting out there. So I just felt like I needed more detail. And that's when I started to cover up all of that gorgeous salt that was in there. Bummer. But, it is what it is. So I'm going in darker again around the edges, mixing in some purples and some blues and some greens together, kind of creating my own color. My color palette here, I think I've had this color palette. I've been using it for months and months now, and I still have not run out of paint. So I just like to use it up because I don't want to toss this. I already have about 4 or 5 palettes, and leave me a comment down below if you are like me and you start to accumulate these palettes because you can't toss them, you can't rinse them out because you don't want to waste all that paint, right? So you start collecting palettes, they just start to accumulate. And one of my students actually said she uses the tops of her lids, which I thought was a great idea because little plastic lids and she can just put a little bit of amount on it and then use that for color mixing, which I thought was a great idea. And she goes, and I just grab some of the lids. I have them kind of in a bag and I'll find the colors that I want. But I always try to reuse what I have. When I mix my colors, sometimes I couldn't even tell you how I get some colors sometimes because I am just going for the shade that I want. And I've been color mixing for a long time, so usually I can capture it pretty good. If you're new to color mixing, sometimes it's a little challenge. Grab yourself a color wheel, start with some really basic colors, and that really helps you learn about color and color mixing. So I added a little bit of the purple to the snow because I didn't want it to be all stark white. Gives it a little bit of shadow effect in here. I worked a while on deepening those values on the edges of the snowbanks. And those little sort of funny little shapes in the front are supposed to be ice. And I didn't leave enough of it, so I'm going to go back in a little bit with some white gouache and just liven those up a little bit more. So I did a little splatter work, a little bit of foreground, because you want to bring your eye to the foreground so then it takes your eye all the way out to where the I guess it's a tidal pool. It's called Strawberry Creek, and it's a tidal area, so it's kind of blocked, I guess. In this, it iced up. So all the way down in there is where it first starts to kind of trickle in, and it goes out into the ocean from there. So I'm going to add a little bit more of that green in here, kind of softening the edges. And to do that, I just added some clean water to the extra green that I put down for paint, and then I just spread that out. Now I'm throwing in a little bit of I think this is yellow ochre, or it is, no, that one is quinacridone gold. again, I just wanted to add just a little bit more color because it was very one-dimensional with just the purple trees and the green and the water and the white. So we're adding just a little bit of that. And again, in the photograph, I've got some little red berries, I think, in the front of this. So I'm going to splatter a few of those in there using my little drumstick technique. Little drummer boy. You guys like that song for the holidays? It was one of my dad's favorites. I'm getting into the Christmas spirit. Can you tell I'm making a Christmas card, so I have to. So now I have my white gouache. I'm going to tap in a little bit of that, again, just to lighten up some of the areas where it got too dark. Now you could use masking fluid and, plan all this out, but that takes the fun away for me. I'm not much of a planner. I'm more of a feeler when it comes to painting. I like to have that freedom to be able to express and be able to put things where I want them, not necessarily where they're supposed to be. So if I plan everything out, which I have done, like I did a lobster painting a long time ago, a couple of them, and they look a certain way, and I had a photograph that I went by, very detailed, and I planned that all out. I used the masking fluid for that one and stuff, but for some of these type of paintings where, especially seascapes and stuff, you get a lot of emotion and feels from your painting, and it doesn't have to be exact because there is no right or wrong shaped piece of ice. There's no right or wrong tree. I mean, it's nature, so it's imperfectly perfect, right? I'm chatty, aren't I? And I'm talking really fast. I haven't even had any coffee, if you can believe it. So now I'm going in again with that, I think this is my dagger brush, yes, and I'm adding a little bit of darker values along the ice, just giving it some dimension, creating a little bit more depth. You can see some of them are underneath, some are more on top. And I felt that it just wasn't quite bright enough. So later on, you can use gouache, but I decided I wanted to try a little bit of ink just to see what that was going to do. I don't often use ink, but the white ink usually is bright white. So if you want to get that bright white and you don't want to fight the gouache, because gouache can become a little bit more transparent if you add more water to it, and you may have to do a number of layers. So it's a quick way to get more of a brighter white by using the ink, which makes it obviously more mixed media piece. So I added the gouache in first, and then it just lightened up a little bit as it started to dry. So then I decided we'll let that dry, going in to add a little bit more bright white snow. And you can still see some of that texture from the salt, but not very much. As I started adding more and more snow, which looks pretty too. Now, when I'm adding the gouache to the trees, I'm just kind of, just popping it on here and there. I'm not covering everything, and I don't even honestly think about where I am tapping that white in there because it's just covering up what you have underneath. It just gives you that illusion of where the snow might land on a few branches. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Throw a little bit of white down the bottom. Maybe there's some little stick branches, when you get those really, if you are around the snow area, that is. If you got really heavy snow and the wind's not blowing, it just kind of settles and starts piling up on those branches. And it's like the most beautiful time. If you can get out early in the morning after a fresh snowfall, it is just absolutely gorgeous. Love it. It's, even though I love summer, I love myself some snow. I when it gets all dirty though, when they start to plow it on the roads and it gets all brown, and then you need a new fresh snow to make it pretty again. So I make these cards, by the way, using an iPad, and I use my Procreate app. And all I did was I found an image or an outline, and I think I found it through YouTube. So I got the size and I downloaded it onto my iPad. So now I can take my images and I usually just take a photograph of it with my iPad, and it does a really nice quality image. And then I size it down, I put the words in there. And I'm doing this every year now. I have made holiday cards for, I want to say the past 7 or 8 years I have done this. So this one is also going to be available on my Etsy shop. So if you want to help support me and my channel and you need cards for the holiday, head over there. They're a really good price because, like, if you buy a Hallmark card or something, some of these cards are like $7 a piece. Whereas this one is basically limited by a local artist. And if you do the bulk orders, it's only like, I think it starts at like $4 for a card if you get the bulk prices, and it goes down to like $3.25 if you buy 50 of them. So, single cards obviously are more expensive because I have to ship them and all that good stuff. But yeah, so I'll put the link down below in case you're interested. You want to help support me, you can purchase your cards. So now you can see I'm adding some of that white in here now. This is the white ink by Liquitex. So it's a water-based ink. And I'm splattering. I'm adding a little bit of that bright white because that is pretty light, that sky back there. So you don't see a lot of that gouache. It didn't really show up really well, but you can see that bright white from the Liquitex ink works a lot better. It's much more vibrant. Now, if I'd gone with a really dark color back there, obviously, it would show up a little bit more. But again, it's just that soft version. So I kind of went back and forth and tweaked it a little bit here and there to get it just to where I wanted it. But I hope you enjoyed this. And if you're in the group, I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit more of this with you on a smaller version. And I hope you guys have a wonderful start to your holiday season and your holiday shopping.